Welcome to the One Gang Worldwide podcast, your ultimate ride into the world of motorcycles. Visit cyclesworldwide.com where we offer a completely free marketplace for everything motorcycles. Join our One Gang community where you can connect, share info, and swap stories with riders from all over the world. Join for free at cyclesworldwide.com and be a part of the One Gang community right now.
On today's episode of the One Gang Worldwide podcast, we're joined by Scott Sagud from FLITEHAUS. FLITEHAUS reshapes how brands bring their visions to life, specializing in innovative solutions from concept through delivery. While they make awesome products for brands, they have some exciting projects of their own just over the horizon. In today's episode, Scott will discuss FLITEHAUS and their unique services, new projects, and some insane stories from his adventures. So gear up as we ride into the world of high-performance design and innovation with Scott Sagud, right here on the One Gang podcast.
I feel like the business falls into place when the product is right. And that's probably, I'm looking at it through rose-colored glasses, but I really feel like if you have a service that caters to the companies that you're working for, you make the product right, you get it there on time, and the quality is great, like the business falls into place.
One Gang Worldwide podcast, brought to you by Keyboard Motorcycle Shipping. Since 1978, Keyboard Motorcycle Shipping has been the trusted name in transporting motorcycles safely across the country. With custom designed pallets and air ride trailers, your bike is secure and protected every step of the way. By choosing Keyboard Motorcycle Shipping, you're supporting a dedicated small business that prioritizes quality and customer satisfaction. Ship with a peace of mind, knowing your motorcycle is in expert hands. Please visit shippingmymotorcycle.com. That's shippingmymotorcycle.com.
Hey, One Gang, if you enjoy the podcast, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You can turn notifications on to hear when new episodes are dropped, too. Any of your engagement supports the show and helps us book great guests and keeps us going. If you or a friend would make a great guest, hit us up at cyclesworldwide.com or drop a comment. Thank you guys so much.
Hey, we'd like to welcome Scott Sagud to the One Gang Worldwide podcast, man. Scotty, thanks for joining us. He's the co-founder of FLITEHAUS Inc. and very, very talented young guy. So welcome aboard, man.
Hey, man, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Awesome.
Right on. Thanks, Scott. So let's start from the beginning, man. Where'd you grow up? How'd you first get into motorcycles? What was your childhood like?
I grew up in Orange County, California, Southern California. It's kind of a mix between riding dirt bikes at a young age with my mom's side of the family and surfing with friends of mine, my dad's side of the family. So it's a unique place in the sense that we kind of have a lot to do within 20 minutes or 2 hours or whatever. You can go surfing and snowboarding and ride dirt bikes kind of all in the same day. So pretty cool.
I love that, man. California is a cool state. Not run properly, but definitely a beautiful state.
It's pretty, I don't know if we can use profanity or not on this, but yeah, it's pretty fucked up what's going on.
Yeah, it's fucked
up north. And hopefully some things will change relatively soon, but we'll see.
Agreed, man. So listen,
did you do your first bike? Were you on a dirt bike first?
Yeah.
What were you,
we had some clapped out, old Honda 50s. We belonged to my uncle and a bunch of quads and stuff, but they were like big Jeepers and Glamis people. And kind of my first introduction to Johnson Valley, which I have a house out there now, but that was kind of like our playground. It's just endless miles of off-road trails and Jeep trails and, rock crawlers and stuff like that. So I grew up out there and then by the coast. So it was a good kind of balance and mix of.
You still riding dirt bikes, or you more doing you riding street?
Yeah. So what I was doing a lot of like dirt bike riding and trail riding. Probably 5 years ago, I was designing all the Legion off-road product for Fox. So, I had the unique opportunity to do a lot of cool shit design wise and then put it on and test it and ride it and stuff. So I was riding a lot with them. I was riding with the Wolf Enduro guys a bunch. I've since kind of gotten back into the D-twin space and doing that just through a slew of injuries and getting old and shit. So not so much on the bike anymore, off road, but you never know. Like my son's getting a little bit older. Like he grew up riding dirt bikes too, and we kind of put that away. But when he gets a little older, I'm sure we'll get back on it.
Take that out.
How old is he now?
He just turned 8. He turned 8 on Friday. So yeah,
Right
he's
on.
Nice.
Nice.
Oh
Happy
shit,
birthday,
my
little dude.
my son turned 18 on Saturday,
oh shit.
the 17th. So that's cool,
Mhm.
man. He's got to be a good kid. Hey, listen, kind of let's get back into a little bit of your earlier days. You've had a pretty impressive journey in the creative industry. I guess we'll start off with saying, let's first go into the design and what inspired you to kind of pursue that career path.
Yeah, that's a good question. I went to school here at a small liberal arts college called Chapman in Orange. And, you get into the work or your college and kind of thinking about the workspace and you're like, fuck, I want to make a lot of money. And so I was like, hey, I'll be a business major straight off the bat. And that obviously has its ups and downs and challenges. And from when I was young, I was a very creative person. I'd come downstairs and build Legos, when I was 4 or 5 or whatever. There'd be like a Millennium Falcon. My mom would wake up. She's like, what the hell? Like, this kid's cold. I was really
That's cool,
like
man.
into being creative at a young age. And then, you know, through trial and error, figured out that that's kind of what I wanted to do. So I got really into graphic design in my late teens and 20s, all the way through my mid 20s. I was in bands. So I'd be doing band t-shirts and merch for like my
Yeah.
bands and my buddies' band and stuff. So that was
Killer.
kind of like where it started. And then I met some people in the action sports industry quick. And they're like, hey, you're broke. You want a job? And I was like, yeah. And this is kind of like while I was going to school. So kind of made it legit and got my education, learned graphics. And then through, the years, moved on to different things and learned how to do cut and sew design and fashion. I guess it's kind of a dirty word, but was in that industry for a while, worked at Levi's for a while. So, cut my teeth with some pros, like people that are really, really good. So it was a, kind of fell into a lot of opportunities just through relationships and, being relatively talented and, like just trying to capitalize on the strengths that God gave me and, do that.
So you were basically one of those guys that I always envied. For the younger generation, they probably won't know what book covers were, but for the book covers, when you doodled all this stuff on it, you could make like band names and it looks
I mean,
badass. So you probably had the baddest book covers
oh
around,
yeah,
right?
dude, I was like, those metal fonts and we just like all the spikes and stuff. Like I had,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we were in hardcore metal bands back in the day. It was a lot of fun. A lot of like,
What kind of music did you grow up with?
I
Like, give me some influencers.
mean, my dad was like, classic rock guy through and through. My mom's cowgirl,
Right.
so a lot of country music. And then, didn't really get into hip hop until later, but it was mostly like hard rock, metal, kind of like Southern rock, like that kind of stuff. So
Well, when you say hard rock and metal, are you talking early 80s, late 70s, early 80s metal, like Maiden, Priest, or are you talking more later on, like Megadeth, Metallica, and heavy?
yeah, I mean, I think if you're a music fan, you can't get through life without listening to all those bands, especially if you're a heavy fan.
Right.
So yeah, like all that stuff. And then, I was into Pantera, like love Pantera, still do.
Yeah.
And then, my brother is actually a guitar tech for some local hardcore bands for Ozfest. So he was, big.
Oh, killer.
Cool.
Yeah, my dad's a big audio fan. So we had like killer, turntables and speakers and stuff. So there's
nice,
like,
yeah.
Nice.
it was proper, there's like some good music playing. But yeah, I mean, the influence is everything, but if I'm, in the truck or in my car, like it's hardcore metal all the time. My kids even, my 10-year-old daughter.
I was just gonna ask,
Yeah,
what about
I
your
just took her to a
kids?
show like maybe last weekend or 2 weekends ago, and it's heavy music and she fucking loves it. So
She digs it, man.
yeah,
Killer,
yeah,
man. Killer. That's
she's
awesome.
into it. My son's he's really into basketball. So he's like hip hop guy, which is
Hip hop.
into
Yeah.
hip-hop. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's all good. It's all good. And design wise, it was up in San Francisco. I left Southern California just to get a different experience. Moved up to SF with my girlfriend, then wife now, and worked at Levi's for I think it was about 3 years. And when people think about Levi's, it's like, oh, they make the 501 and that's great, but what else? And there's actually a lot of other stuff going on. We were working on kind of more progressive ideas, which kind of formed like my point of view when it comes to design now in this project that we did called the Commuter Series. So it was, a pair of pants that was built for bike commuting.
Nice.
Prior to, motorcycle apparel, it was like, hey, how do we build features into this stuff that's useful for the person that's using it? So there's a lot of like details. It was a nanotech fabric, so it's super hydrophobic. The pocket design was like very intentional. So it's like, how do you make these things that don't look crazy, but give you infinitely more benefit?
Right,
What's
right. Are they still, is Levi still making that?
There might be some sort of iteration of it now, but this is 2008 or 9. So
I have
Okay.
a
okay,
pair
cool.
still.
Yeah, they well, good to know they still hold up. But yeah, it was a big business for
Yeah,
like
man.
Urban Outfitters retailer like then, and it kind of opened the scope to people about kind of functional products. So you see brands now that their whole business and platform is built on this stuff that's kind of everything you need, nothing you don't, which is a mantra that,
Right.
I still tout regularly. Cause essentially if you're a dude, it's like, you want stuff that works, but you don't want to look weird. So it's pretty straightforward.
Exactly. Right. And we don't
Yeah.
need a lot. We just need it to
That's
perform.
it.
That's the
Yeah.
thing.
That's,
It's got to last,
yeah.
man.
I mean, you
And you got to look halfway
see it
decent
full
in it.
circle in the vest that we just did for Dixxon. It's like, they're pretty minimal, but
Yeah, man. I can't wait to get into
all right,
that later in the
jumping
show
in
for
that.
sure.
But yeah, so then
That's
left Levi's, came back to Southern California to start a family, ended up at Fox, which, forever will be kind of in my heart is a family and a home base. I was there for years and involved in a lot of really cool projects. I designed the new adventure capsule that they have. And it was also based a lot on kind of everything you need and nothing you don't, super minimal, a lot of stretch materials, which aren't really used in the ADV space currently. And a,
Hey, did you work at DC Shoes
oh,
first before
I did.
Fox?
Yeah. It was kind of a blip. But it was a cool experience. I never worked like at a shoe centric company. Um, but if I'm being totally honest, it was just a gig to get me back to Southern California so I could figure out what to do next. Because I
Gotcha.
wasn't, it was like, I was into skating, like younger, like being in the bands and, all that stuff and just being part of the culture of Southern California. But yeah, it was kind of just to get me back down here.
right on. So you had like as a kid, you've got, or a younger guy, you've got, band posters, which are for most graphic designers who do it professionally, that's like the holy
Personally,
grail of
yeah,
fun, are band
yeah.
posters. They're so fun. And then so you go from there to Levi, where you're focused on functionality, and it's a different medium, I'd
Mhm.
imagine. So with DC, as you were a senior designer at DC, is that
Correct.
right?
Yeah, I came down to work on like their lifestyle kind of cut and sew apparel, which was kind
Right
of
on.
like a adjacent business to their shoe business. So it was like we were building, clothing for their sponsored skaters and big box retail mainly.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was cool. I met a lot of cool
Gotcha.
people, and funny enough, like Quicksilver, which is now Board Riders or something conglomerate, like they owned
Right, right.
DC at the time. So it was like I left Quick to go to Levi's and then came back to the same building and I was working at it Quick. So it was like an interesting full
Yeah, no way.
circle experience. But I was just happy to get back to Southern California. My family's all here. Like the culture and lifestyle just is significantly different than
Sure.
living in a city. So I'm not, through this experience, I
Yeah.
found out, I'm better in the water, the dirt. Like I'm not a city guy. All the
Right,
travel, but I
right.
can't live in
Understood.
cities. No way.
Were you with DC long enough that it impacted anything as far as your skills and your style as you progressed
I
in your
think
career?
a big takeaway from DC was it was starting. I was starting to pivot. I knew what I was good at, and I was starting to pivot out of
Mhm.
like just specifically design stuff, and I started getting more into merchandising and kind of the business aspect of making clothes. So understanding,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it's all about revenue and figuring out ways to make money without um you know, killing the culture and the vibe of the company, which I think a lot of brands do
Yeah.
all the time. And it's like, it's hard to balance kind of the financial aspect and the vibe and culture and aesthetic of what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So that was probably my biggest
Yeah.
takeaway from working at DC, is understanding how product relates to the line that it's in with all the other pieces. And then ultimately what the sales strategy and merchandising strategy is to getting those things in retail and based on your distribution. This is kind of pre direct to consumer business. So it was all about, what's PacSun selling? What's,
Yeah.
blah,
I was
blah,
just
blah.
gonna say, get
Yeah.
that pack,
That was
son. Yeah.
Tilly's, PacSun, like all
Yeah.
those kind of like teen retail it was kind of where it was all happening at the time. And for me, it was like, I didn't shop there really. But to understand, feedback from sales and what actually matters kind of in the business, side of things, that was mostly at DC. Uh,
That's cool.
That's really
yeah.
interesting.
So how did you score the gig at Fox Racing? And then in addition to, I mean, you kind of held multiple positions while you were there, because you were there for how many years were you at Fox?
I was at Fox, I think 3 or 4 prior to leaving for MAG. And
And you went to from different positions. You kind of responsibilities evolved over the
totally.
years. Take us a little bit into the Fox. You know how you got that job and what the type of things and projects that you were involved with, and in addition to, I guess, some of the ups and downs that you faced as far as I mean, I'm sure that it's such an aggressive brand and such a well-known global brand that there's a lot of let's say pressures on you as a designer from the uppers to, so take us a little bit into that world.
Yeah, that's a great point and question. So I met, who would be my boss, at Fox. He was actually hired recently. So basically I came in when Fox was still being led by Pete. Pete Fox is the founder, Jeff's son, and an incredibly talented, switched on dude. Made the brand kind of what it is, or what it was, I guess, maybe a couple of years ago. But yeah, just incredibly talented guy. He hired a guy named Armando, who goes by Mondo, and he's still a really good friend of mine. So Mondo, I came in, instead of like coming in with a resume and some examples of like whatever, like I sourced denim. I'd made a pant that was, for BMX, specifically for BMX riding, because at the time they had a decent BMX program. And so I came in, I was like, hey dude, I made you a pant. It's rad, like stretch Kaihara, salvage denim, blah, 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 blah. So, and he was like, whoa, that's kind of next level. So ended up getting a gig at Fox working on,
Sweet.
first it was, like casual apparel and kind of that like functional crossover, idea. We were all kind of into that. And then from there, met the crew, became, buds with Pete and, the design crew that worked there, and wherever we needed stuff or ideas. Like the cool thing about the culture there at the time was like everybody could throw their hat in the ring and,
That's huge.
get stuff going. Cause I mean, the best idea usually wins, or at least that should be the case. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so worked on, casual stuff, worked on moto gear. And then towards kind of the end of my first tenure at Fox, I was really into riding trails and, I was riding Harleys at the time too. So there's like kind of that influence and aesthetic that kind of came across in the cat.
Is that the Legion line?
Yeah, that was kind of the official Legion, like, work was the second half, but the first half was kind of getting more into ideas that, taking materials and fabrics that were working in the race side of stuff, and then building new concepts and ideas, and also like borrowing some stuff from like the mountain bike. At the time, it was kind of like some new mountain bike ideas are coming through. Well, yeah, just kind of pulling, from like internal influences and started building some pretty cool, trail stuff. So,
That's cool, man. That's
yeah.
cool.
But yeah, I mean, Fox was Fox was a good deal. I kind of ran my course the first half. Unfortunately, you'll find these young designers that come into the space, like you're gung ho on getting shit done and making kind of your name and having a positive impact on the industry. But when the company gets so big, you'll find that a lot of people are more interested in kind of their path than the overall like trajectory of the company or the product itself. Becomes more about politics than it does like the shit. So I kind of had a weird feeling, and kind of at the time, obviously had some really good relationships at Fox, still do. And I had met, who is my partner in FLITEHAUS now at Fox, who was working on, eyewear for Fox at the time. And they're kind of doing a license deal between Oakley and Fox, and utilizing a lot of the same, manufacturing benefits and all that stuff. So Rob he was a G, still is, like,
you're talking about the race goggles, or you talking about just eyewear in general?
both.
A fashion
Yeah.
eyewear too.
Both. Yeah. So I think initially it started with goggles, for Rob. And then, there was a massive program at Fox. They were doing like accessories, like they had a big footwear push, and then they had a big eyewear, like casual eyewear line.
Right.
So Rob was over there, but, he ended up moving and going to a company called Roland Sands Designs, who I'm sure you guys know.
Oh yeah, of course. Yep.
And,
Aristide.
and he, through that kind of process, met the guys at MAG, Motorsports Aftermarket Group, and was talking to the guy that was running that. And that company, at the time, was distributed through Tucker Rocky, and kind of
Yeah.
like brands that were managed by one company. And so we were doing so jumping ahead a little bit, but Rob helped me.
Scott,
Yeah.
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this before you continue on with this. Did you find, as a direct, I mean, you came from the industry, meaning you did the dirt bikes, you do the street bikes. Did you find a difference in your designers? Like, let's just take it back through your whole career that you've been a part of, that people who, let's say like at Fox, guys and girls who actually ridden motorcycles were a little bit more like, is there creative differences when it comes to design of whether it's apparel or whether it's gear, or whether it is from somebody who actually has ridden to somebody who's never been on a bike that's doing some design work? Do you see a difference in that? I mean, because you've done both, so that's why I'm asking.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question. I think in a lot of cases in my past, when I was younger, I'd say absolutely. You'd see a difference between somebody that, has swung a leg over a bike, specifically like dirt, like riding, in terms of, features and benefits, and, durability. Like, how do you build a pant that's not going to break the second you crash in it? So I would say yes. However, there's a lot of knowledge, and expertise, for people that have worked for brands like Nike or, Burton Snowboards, or stuff that kind of is like on the outside of the culture, but has seen in and kind of can understand
Right.
what the needs are. Probably less about what the culture's like, and more with specific like design and feature set that goes into the product, and materials, and cut and make, and sewing, and all that kind of stuff. Like, people that have worked in these, really high tech companies have brought a lot of really good and interesting points of view to that space, which standing now on the outside and looking in, like, you can see how the industry and, specific brands have kind of evolved through time by bringing people that aren't from moto into moto.
Gotcha.
It's almost like a fresh set of eyes.
Right.
Yeah, I worked, at Fox, I worked with dudes that, came from everywhere, and they had some really interesting, thoughts and killer design, and it comes from another place. I think, like, filtering that through like a lens of culture and, um,
Mhm.
you know, going to A1, A2 and like seeing the races and stuff, like eventually those people become moto fans. Like they want to ride bikes, they start riding bikes, and then, you know,
Yeah,
before you
yeah,
know it, like they're hooked and you know, they're
yeah, yeah.
avid enthusiasts. So I love it. I mean, I think
That's
the
cool.
one cool thing, among many, like in our sports and in our, you know, lives on bikes is that it's pretty inclusive. And, you know, we want more people to ride
Mhm.
bikes. And I think at Fox,
Yeah, absolutely.
that was a tenet that, you know, the majority of the building shared. So yeah,
That's
from,
cool.
yeah. So, but to answer your question, yeah, I think there's an important aspect of culture that goes in designing product for bike riding or motorcycles. But you don't have to be from it to learn it and love it.
All right. Thanks for answering that. I was
Yeah,
curious.
Yeah, that is really
for sure.
interesting. So to get back to Mag, what was your role there? How was it? How did it differ from what you had done in the past, and what were your kind of key takeaways and impacts for your future career
Yep.
at Mag?
Yeah. So like I said, my buddy Rob put in a good word for me, the guy that was running, kind of the business side of Mag, and they were looking for a creative director for the brands. And, you know, at that
Mhm.
time I was like, I think this would be a good change. Like, um, I think Fox was getting set up for its first sale. So I figured it would be kind of a good time to jump ship and try something
Yeah.
else. So yeah, I'd moved in, and fortunately, the office for Motorsports Aftermarket Group was in Irvine as well. So from a commute standpoint, I was like, shit, this is, you
Nice.
know, the building
Heck
was
yeah.
like right down the street. So I was like, yeah, this is great. So went over there. They were in charge of answer racing first year and speed and strength, and then I think RSD was still kind of in the group, but not necessarily
Mhm.
like a focal point. So there's a team of about 8 dudes, myself, and then we, you know, had some brand managers for the brands and stuff. So it was a much smaller, kind of more intimate group of guys, all of which were from either dirt bike backgrounds or street bike backgrounds. So the whole building was bike rider guys.
That's cool.
So it was cool from like, you know, a relatability standpoint. And we worked hard, man. Like working on 3 or 4 brands at once from my perspective, guiding was challenging, especially without, you know, as many resources as Fox had. Uh, it was challenging, but with that being said, like had ultimate creative freedom. So, um, was able to travel a bunch, develop this riding pack slash vest thing, in collaboration with the Wolf Enduro guys. Got to go to Vietnam to build it. And then we wore them and tested them riding in Vietnam for a week or two in the North and the South. Just unbelievable memories and, you know, all kind of, encircling this concept of design and innovation. So it's like I got to be doing the same or the things that I think are fun kind of simultaneously. So that was cool. um, we had a bunch of like line launches, built a bunch of product for those brands. And you guys, I'm sure, have been, you know, been into a cycle gear or, you know, any
Oh yeah.
retailer that's seen the brands, and you know, like it's kind of entry to mid price point products. So we're kind of limited a lot by what we got to spend on what and where we got to manufacture it. But it was a great experience nonetheless. Um, But yeah, I got to do some really oh, and in addition to that, like, aside from making product, like, got to work on a lot of, like, go-to-market assets, so, like, videos and trailers and all
Nice.
that stuff, which, you know, I've been a fan of, film and, TV forever, and so it was an opportunity to kind of, branch out creatively and do some stuff that was quite a bit different. So, you know, we did a speed and strength shoot in San Francisco, and I was obviously familiar with the city because I lived there for a few years. But we got to shut down the Stockton Tunnel at like 2 in the morning and rip the
Killer, man. That's
motorcycles through it
cool.
with
Wow.
camera trucks and all this shit. And we had cops like directing traffic. It was like a full production, so that was pretty rad.
Huh.
Um,
Wow. That is cool.
yeah, so got to do a bunch of fun stuff like that, which, you know,
Is speed and strength still operating?
I'm not sure, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, they were big. They came out blazing, man.
Yeah.
I remember, man. I know I grabbed a couple of their shirts, man. Awesome. It was, and then they kind of faded slowly
Yeah, I
out.
think I mean, ever since I left MAG, I'm not sure exactly what their distribution strategy, or I think MAG actually shut doors on all the apparel and stuff as well. So yeah, I'm not sure. But while I was there, I got to have a lot of fun. So that was kind
That's
of what
cool.
mattered to me. Yeah, like at the time it was kind of branching out in these other creative um, avenues, which opened my eyes to not necessarily being so tied to designing products specifically, but using creativity in different ways. And, on the marketing side or um, stuff like that. I think being there at that time, like learning that that's just as important as the energy and emphasis you put into the product. It doesn't really matter unless you can get it in front of people and make it compelling and interesting to look at. So that was pretty cool at MAG to have the opportunity to do that.
That's cool. So it sounds like with MAG, that go-to-market aspect and the marketing, that sounds like it was kind of the missing puzzle piece to round you
Yeah,
out,
I'm
I
still
would
looking
guess.
for
So
the
that
more
differed a
puzzle
lot from the
pieces, but
previous.
like, yeah, I think like a lot of people will become kind of complacent in their growth or interests. And I think a unique aspect of my
Yeah.
personality is like I'm freaking hungry to do more fun and interesting, cool stuff like constantly. So I'm, yeah, I'm
Good.
always,
Right on.
always looking for the next fun thing or,
And that's what's leading us to the next question. Now, you've worked for them all. You've done the things you had to do, picked up the knowledge and experience along the way. In 2017, you co-founded FLITEHAUS. Why don't you take the audience a little bit into what motivated you to start your own company, and what was some of the early challenges that you faced as a new business owner? Because I don't think a lot of people who have never started a business, they don't understand what's inside that takes place. So take us from the beginning to some of the challenges you faced as a startup.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, so yeah, like I said, some of the headwinds and weird shit that goes down with corporate companies has a lot to do with politics and obviously the economy and um, just trying to um, make things a little bit too difficult. And in my mind, it was like, I've always been design led and interested in the business, but more interested in innovative product and connecting with consumers rather than shoving homogenous shit down people's throats. Seems
Right.
like that's just
That's awesome.
Yeah.
over and over and over.
Of course.
And so I was like, fuck man, like I think, um, we can do this. And fortunately, like at the time I had a relationship with a company called BRP, up in Canada who, owns Can-Am and Ski-Doo and Sea-Doo and all those brands and massive brand, really cool. And they're great at making vehicles and stuff, but they didn't have the infrastructure to work out kind of what they wanted to do for branded product to go in their dealerships to sell with the vehicles. So I was consulting and helping them through that. So long story short, like they were our first client, and we put together some incredible lines for them both on the off-road and on-road side, and showing a big company how a nimble team that's has an expertise in the stuff that they do, like was a big eye opener for them and us. And so we're like, oh, this is rad. Like we could definitely make this work. So brought Robin because he's, a financial guru and understands kind of like the brand building and product development and all that kind of stuff, which he handles to this day. And we formed FLITEHAUS, then working, with BRP and all their brands, and just kind of, we're winging it. We're like, hey, we're good at it.
Scott, can I ask you a quick question before you continue? With BRP, you said that they needed some form of gear, right? Whatever it is, whatever type of, whether it was t-shirts, whether it was jackets, whatever. What did you guys create for them?
Yeah. We did jackets, hoodies, tees, hats, and then we also did jerseys, sublimated jerseys for their off-road stuff. but again, like building functionality into, casual clothing was ultimately what they were looking for, both on the off-road and on-road side. So, I think they had just released their newer three-wheel bike thing. And they wanted more of a street kind of urban, leaning line. So we helped them build that, which, actually funny story, like had a lot of similarities with the Levi's commuter line. So we kind of, time warped back and brought a lot of those sensibilities forward to that. But I think what they really liked is that we were really communicative. We treated it as a concierge kind of approach to building the product for them. So they, come in one-stop shop. We had the sourcing strategy all figured out. We had really good pricing because the relationships with our vendors are key. And, and yeah, so they were happy that they didn't have to talk to China to get stuff done. They had a company that was stateside that, had relationships both, domestically and then overseas as well. So it was just easy, it was easy for them until they could staff and put together their own team. At which point we, high five and cut ties. And, at that point we had also developed a lot of relationships with, clients that we, some of which we still work with now, but started building our book. And the formula worked, it was like, we have a lot of knowledge and experience under our belt, and we like to work quick and effectively and deliver great product. And fortunately, those are the things that the clients were looking for as well. So just going through, the sources that we had, developing new relationships with, manufacturers overseas, and then, aligning with new factories, to have kind of like this plug and play formula of building product based on the way that I design stuff. Like, so the factory learned me, I learned the factory. And so that communication became seamless, and, we're able to cut out a lot of lead time and bullshit. Just, going back and forth on WhatsApp or whatever, like just new ways of thinking about how to communicate quickly. And, having that accountability 24/7 with the fact.
Is that the challenges, the majority of the challenges you were facing? What was it?
Yeah,
That part of it, or was there more?
there's definitely more challenges.
I know,
Yeah.
man. I know.
So we started, I mean, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, but we, started prior to COVID, and then through COVID, it was like, well, shit, we can't get anything here on boats. Everything's sitting out in the harbor.
Right.
So we kind of circumvented that by, looking at other source bases and airing things in, lowering retails in order to afford the cost of the air freighting it and stuff. So we're able to get product to people when nobody else had it. So like our business, like
Awesome.
boom, or jumped off like a ton at that point. So it was just reemphasizing like this innovation or being creative in different aspects to ultimately get us what we want, getting paid, and then getting a client all their stuff on time was kind of like the critical thing. So just being able to adapt, in different ways is definitely helpful, and getting FLITEHAUS off the ground. Obviously, challenge wise, the economy right now is like tough, but, and the industry as a whole, like I've heard some feedback from bike, manufacturers, it's pretty tough to sell bikes at the moment. So if people aren't selling bikes, people aren't buying clothing. So, we face a lot of that. But, through my time at other lifestyle brands, like we were able to kind of, work with lifestyle companies and still do on getting cool shit made. And then interesting distribution strategies, just kind of thinking young and being like open to the idea that nothing's really set in stone from a pricing or distribution, like strategy or formula. And again, like being able to adapt, I think, is something that our generation is kind of used to, I guess, at this point. So, everybody being,
Good point.
and
Good
yeah,
point. on
yeah.
that.
So, we'll continue to face stuff, challenge wise, whether it's business acquisition or, new relationships with clients and stuff. But fortunately, the people that we work with stick with us. So as we continue to deliver great product, to these brands, we kind of re-emphasize the relationship, because ultimately at the end of the day, we're dudes that love motorcycles and stuff. And a lot of our clients are the same. So aside from like the business, it's the way that we engage, and, it's very, honest and very credible, and it comes with a sense of authenticity that I think a lot of like our clients can see and appreciate. So,
Yep.
at the end of the day, we're all buds. We all share the love for riding bikes and all that stuff. So,
It's important.
we keep it on two wheels, and, I think that's a huge part of our business that is often overlooked, is that at the end of the day, we're just enthusiasts that know how to build stuff, and that's kind of unique.
Yeah. You'd mentioned thinking young. I think that's great. And FLITEHAUS is known as, being innovative and not shoving homogenous mess at
Yeah.
people, being heterogeneous. What can you give us like a story or share a story about a specific project or something that really encapsulates what FLITEHAUS is all about?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good question. There's been so many fun projects. Well, for me, just kind of the theme of being able to kind of bob and weave. I had never designed eyewear before, and that was a big kind of question mark when we started talking to Dixxon Flannel Company, who's one of our clients, and rad company, really
Very
cool
rad.
owner. Like Danny's, actually grew up in Southern California, a few miles away from me. So, shares a lot of the same background when it comes to bikes and music and all that stuff. And, had an incredible idea and ran with it, and unafraid, and just grew the company from nothing to a bunch, like, quick. And so he's rad, but he wanted to do eyewear, and his taste, is elevated. Like, he likes nice shit, which I appreciated. And I know Rob did as well. So, there's like this, all right, well, this guy wants to do eyewear. Unfortunately, Rob worked at Oakley for years and years, so had the relationship with some incredible eyewear manufacturers, namely Lem in Italy, where like the best acetate comes from. So had all that kind of stuff set up. And, I obviously know what I like, and I have a good idea of what the Dixxon customer likes. So putting that stuff together was a challenge, in terms of kind of knowledge, and, what does the manufacturer really need from me in order to make this stuff? So working through that and being able to adapt to a new set of challenges and stuff, it keeps your brain moving and fresh. And, so working on the eyewear became kind of an obsession of mine, and you'll see, I don't know if it manifests in the work that I do, but I'm like very obsessive when it comes to like projects. Like, you ask my wife, she's like, dude, you barely breathe when you're working on stuff. So like, we put together, like, I think it's probably 9 or 10 different frame styles, and then, a handful of colorways, like, between all of them. And I think they just, launched 3 of the 8 or 9 that we did a couple weeks ago, which, they look fucking so good. And the way that
They're badass.
yeah, the way they dropped them was really, really well done. And they just have this ability to like nail their customer on the head, and I think they share the same ethos as us, in the sense that like they are their customer. So like they know what they want.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's like breaking through, like that barrier is like effortless. So yeah, they're direct to consumer. So they ordered, a bunch, and ended up selling out of them. And I'm sure they'll, launch this next round soon, and then reorder, and blah, blah, blah. So I'm just so fortunate and grateful for the relationships we have, them and others, that, we get them great product, and they're able to get rid of it quick, because they,
And you've also just launched with Dixxon the vest,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So
Can you tell the audience about this new product that's coming out,
Yeah.
man? It's badass. When you guys see this is really, really cool
thanks,
stuff.
man. I really appreciate that. Yeah,
I love it.
cool. So in addition to, like the eyewear and stuff, they wanted to, because their customer is, working class, blue collar dudes, like a lot of us ride bikes, and they know
That's right.
that's their guy. So, Danny was like, hey, I think we should do, a really bitchin' line of riding apparel, and I really want to put some emphasis on vests. So we designed, I think, 3 or 4 different vests, like kind of the exterior materials. Like I was telling you guys earlier before we started recording, it's, the aesthetic and the outside of the vest looks, like what, the guys like that kind of club look, how it looks.
Mhm.
But, oftentimes those vests are pretty minimal. Like it's, a shell of leather and maybe a pocket on the inside. And yeah, that's
Right,
it. So took a lot of the technology of, the stuff that I was working on, with the adventure stuff at Fox in terms of like storage, mobility, um, waterproofing, like areas, and dumped a ton of like tech into these vests. So the exterior looks pretty cut and dry. Like, and then you open it up and there's just, storage beyond. And then a lot of the vests have kind of a back armor pocket, and whether you like back armor or armor in general at all, like it's nice to have the ability to throw, one of those thin SaskTech back plates in there, if you want. So just
Mhm.
gave a lot more features, and gave a lot more value to a guy that's going to go spend $300 on a vest, and gave him the same price point with a bunch of cool shit inside. So
When you have gun pockets, right? You got
yep,
in
we
that?
got a concealed carry. I think it's I don't know if we left it as a magnet, but really easy to access, and stays flat when you're not using it. So
That's cool.
compact carry pockets. We have internal waterproof device pockets, back armor. There's a stash pocket. I'm not going to tell you where it is. You can go and find out.
Right.
Yeah, but so I think they got them, and they were gone in 30 minutes, I think.
Dude, I think you guys are gonna
Jeez.
knock it out of the park with this. I seen it the other I think I think you posted it a day or two ago on LinkedIn, and I was like, damn, man. And I started looking into it. I was like, that vest is gonna fly off the shelves,
Yeah,
man. That was a beautiful design. Great job on
I
that.
appreciate that. Yeah, and then so in addition to that, I'm not going to spill the beans, but there's a lot more coming from Dixxon, so keep an eye on it.
Yeah, looking
On their
forward to
site
it. They always make great
for
clothing.
sure. Yeah, and yeah, so that's that, and then Rob's probably going to kill me for saying this, but we also are going to independently, we're going to launch something in the next few months from FLITEHAUS under a different brand
Nice.
name. So yeah,
Killer.
keep an eye out
Yeah.
if you're into kind of
Dude,
that.
do we stay with Flight House as far as getting this information,
Yeah,
or do we where do we go? Where do we go to make sure that we don't miss
we're
out
gonna
on this?
we're gonna blast it through all the channels. So I'm sure if you write through reels,
Okay.
whether it's through your conventional media or digital media or whatever, you'll see it. And
Okay.
we just got the second round of protos back, and it's pretty fucking sick, dude. Yeah, it's gonna be
Oh, cool, man. Looking
it's
forward
gonna
to
be
it.
if you like the Dixon
Looking
stuff
forward
like
to it.
that,
That's sick.
it'll be that and more. So it'll be cool.
All right, killer,
Yeah.
killer.
Hey guys, the show will be back in 1 minute right after a word from our sponsor.
Hey, One Gang, tired of feeling like your butt's taking more of a beating than your bike on those long rides? Introducing Butt Buffer, the ultimate solution to saddle soreness. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. These cushions are made from medical grade viscoelastic polymer, scientifically crafted to eliminate pressure points and keep your circulation flowing. No more numb nuts or numb butts. And here's the best part. Butt Buffer cushions are made right here in the US for the last 30 years. From Harleys to Hondas, we've got a cushion to fit your ride perfectly. Plus, with styles ranging from sleek pebble polymer to luxurious sheepskin, there's a butt buffer for every rider's style. Get your butt buffer today at buttbuffer.com. That's buttbuffer.com. Your butt will thank you, and you'll ride longer and happier. We've got your butt covered.
Heck yeah. So I'm curious with the different, your history, your background, getting into your own company, managing the creative role and the business role in the company. Do you find yourself struggling? You want to explore the creative side more and the business side is pulling you away from that, or what is that like to balance that?
Yeah. Excuse me. That's a great question because it's on my heart and mind every day. But I think
Yeah.
I mean, Rob is like, a godsend when it comes to like dealing with the client in terms of payments and, paying factories and working as the middleman between.
Nice.
But when it comes to like the sales, I guess you would call it sales side of things, or like selling our company to new and prospective clients, I really like it because I'm not selling something that's, like I'm not selling a bad product. Like I love talking about our
Right.
enterprise. And like
Right.
I love talking about the things that we do because I wholeheartedly believe that working small and working with, um, experts on, I guess, product, or whether you're doing apparel or, building websites or whatever, it's like, uh, I feel like the future of doing this kind of stuff has less to do with these cumbersome, massive companies and more to do with people that, can know the business enough and are hungry to, um, grow their own company and aren't complacent in terms of what they're selling and who they're selling to, and really like going for or standing behind the idea that product is key and the customer's needs are key rather than, hitting the
Yeah.
bottom line, which is also,
Right. Right.
but
Yeah.
I feel like, if you go into a Redzilla right now, there's just walls and walls of, textile jackets that look exactly the same. And, obviously
Yep.
these companies are
Yep.
trying to make money, and the jackets are good. There's nothing particularly different or interesting about them, which
Mhm.
is, as a consumer, like I hate that. I'm like, why the hell?
But
Yeah.
it's today's
Homogenous,
society,
right?
man. Everything looks the same. Everybody looks the
Yeah,
same. Everybody drives the same motorcycle.
yeah,
It's like there's no
yeah,
individuality anymore. That's what I said the other day.
Yuppie.
It was like you drive by a Harley dealership, man. It's no different than driving by a Kia dealership because it's just different colors, but everything looks the same. And
totally.
it's the same thing online. Everybody, mass produced garbage materials that just disintegrate and then it's on to the next one,
Yeah,
so there's nothing that very few companies make stuff that will
yeah,
last, and Dixon's one of the ones that do, because I've got riding shirts from them from 5-6 years ago with probably 50,000 miles on them, man, and they still look as good today as they did 5-6 years ago.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? And then you put a pair of Harley boots on, you ride it, and from the fucking heat, the heel
yeah,
starts to come off, and then you look, it's made in China garbage. It's
yeah,
like that. That's what I love about the smaller firms, man. I always try to give my business to companies like Dixon. Like to be able to give back to companies that actually care about the products that they put out in the market, not just mass produce
yeah,
them and throw shit to the wall and hopefully it
yeah,
sticks.
yeah. I agree totally. But to answer your question a little bit further, I feel like the business falls into place when the product is right. And that's probably, I'm looking at it through rose colored glasses, but I really feel like, if you have a service that caters to the companies that you're working for, you make the product right, you get it there on time, and the quality is great, like the business falls into place. And, um, I feel like that's an important,
And make sales
yeah,
fun.
yeah, yeah. And it's like, well, I don't have to go, and be like, hey, you know, check out our stuff. It's really cool. It's like at this point,
Right.
people have heard
Right.
about that, what we do.
It
And
speaks for itself.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
not to say that we're not, still growing, and we, would love
Sure.
to take on new challenges in terms of different aspects of design, not specifically just apparel, but, protection, if it's helmets or boots or, armor or whatever, it's like, there's no kind of limit in terms of the projects that we want to take on, but we want to make sure that whatever we do is A class, and, we, move the needle. I think that's ultimately the most important thing, is making a difference in an industry that's seems to be grasping for the next thing that, is useful and lasts.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like what our
Yeah.
main goal is, right now. So it's super fun.
Scott, let me ask you this. let me ask you this: as far as your personal growth, right? Throughout your career, you've had a number of personal, professional milestones, man. You've done so. You worked with some great companies. You've started your own business. How have these experiences kind of helped you now that you're officially a true entrepreneur, right? So you have your own firm. Everything is on you now. You don't have, others making decisions. Everything comes from your mindset and your partners. Take us a little bit through that. Like, how have your personal, professional experiences helped you to where you are now?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'd be a fool not to admit that fucking up doesn't absolutely help in the long run. So there's been
It's part of it.
Yeah. It's like pain is the best teacher or whatever. But
That's
I think
right.
I think we need to get, or at least, I'm in my early 40s, and I was I guess I was raised kind of in an old school mentality, in the sense that it's like, hey, get out there and give it your best. And if you fuck up, it's cool. Like,
Right.
get back on the horse and give it another go. And so I think being afraid of making mistakes is the biggest downfall for people that are trying to start their own thing. Um, if you're focused on doing your best and making the best thing, if it's in the apparel space or whatever, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. You're going to have taxes coming out your ass. You got to figure out how to deal with that,
Right.
like all this stuff.
Yep.
But it's never, my dog's like making all this noise. But if you're, it's set on something that you believe in passionately, like there's no stopping you. If
That's
you
right.
have skill set and you're confident in it, you got to go for it.
Yeah. Let that overtake the
Yeah.
fear.
So yeah. But with that being said, also, like, when things work, it's like the most satisfying thing in the world, because you're like, I did all of this and nobody helped, and it's blah, blah, blah. So that's another component of it from the positive side that, keeps me invigorated and, waiting for the next big win.
Not the sleepless nights wondering how the hell you're gonna pay your bills. Not those nights.
Oh, I mean,
Those are rough nights for anybody who's
yeah,
been
tell
through
me
it.
about it. Tell me about it. I have the mindset that, it's, it'll get figured out in one way or the other. But yeah, I've had a lot of sleepless nights, still do, but at the end of the day, it's life, and, it's not going to kill you. So you can't give up.
That's
And
right. Great.
you can't be a pussy. You got to live life hard and do your best,
Yeah.
and, keep the
That's right.
door open for people, and have fun. It's like, we got one life to live, and, take what you're good at and make the most of it, and do it. Don't quit.
All right.
That
Good-
goes
good
perfectly
advice.
into the next question I have for you. This is not a new album title, but with Tibetan monks and Vietnamese jungles. Looking back at your life, man,
Dude, what was
what like looking back at your life and your career, what would you say some of the most pivotal and impactful moments or stories have been for you?
Well, I'll answer that question just specifically. We went on that Vietnamese ride, and we had this guy who was our guide, who was probably about 17 or 18, actually spoke great, spoke English well. And so we're in the middle of this jungle, and I pull down on this bank of this river. There's a bridge going over it. We ride over the bridge a few times, and I pull down, to the bank to take some photos.
Mhm.
And I was there with a buddy of mine who was like instrumental in designing and developing this best pack that we were riding with. And he's upriver, he's taking photos. And out of kind of like earshot, I hear, this person going, help, help. And we look up, and our guide had tried to ford the river on his bike and didn't realize how deep it was. So I'm looking at him, he's going underwater
Oh, wow.
with his bike. And, in my head, I'm like, I just watched this kid drown in Vietnam, and we're in the middle of the jungle. I have no fucking idea where I'm at.
Jeez.
Long story short, we get him out of the water. We dive down, like Adam and I took all our shit off and dive down and pull his bike out of the water.
Wow.
It's obviously fully flooded, and, it won't start. And,
Yeah.
he's like, okay, this is the guide, and he's still freaking out. And we're like, all right, man, it's fine. Like, you're going to be all right. So he's like, he points at me. He's like, you get on my bike, I'll get on your bike. And, these bikes had pegs on for some reason. And he's like, I'll push you to a place where I can use a phone. So I'm like, whatever. Okay, let's do it. So we do it. And we get to this place. He calls somebody, Vietnamese, have no idea what's going on. He's like, all right, I'll be right back. And I'm like, what? So we're sitting at this, it's like laying on this
Now you're
shack,
stranded
like in the middle of Vietnam, my buddy, and we're just like chain smoking cigarettes, trying to like calm down. And, so we wait like an hour and a half or 2 hours where nobody, we can't communicate with this person. So we're like, fuck, this kid just like, dipped on us, like on my bike, at nowhere doing whatever. And out of nowhere, this like other kid shows up. He's like maybe 10 on this scooter, like barefoot, just like whipping like donuts on it. He's like, follow me. So we're like, all right. So he takes us to this other place, and like, I'm on a dead bike. So I don't know how we got there actually. Anyway, I think I was on the back of Adam's bike. We get there. It's like this beautiful homestay, big 100-year-old house, like on wooden, big wooden logs, like elevated from flood and stuff. And, have a dinner, no guide. We have no idea where this kid is. And we're in this house with these strangers, and we're just like, what is going on right now? And, so we crash out, we get the mosquito nets over us and all this stuff. 3 a.m, we hear, clapped out Honda dirt bike putting up the road. I wake up and look out, and the guide, this kid, he flipped it, blew it all out, the air compressor, and put the engine top end back together, and he was on.
Wow.
Put the bike on.
Man.
Wow.
Yeah. That was an
hilarious.
insane experience, and like something I'll never forget for sure. So like, there's
That's
just so
awesome.
many parallels that go with making product and all this stuff, just life experiences that I could go on and on about, and traveling and in India and Tibet and, all these places. So bikes, clothes, travel, life, it all for me has kind of gone hand in hand. Like I said earlier, I'm so fortunate and grateful to be able to experience all the stuff and been able to make all this stuff, and, gonna keep doing it.
So what do you see for FLITEHAUS in 5 years? Where are we?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think just based on how many lines we have in the water right now, if you go many different ways, whether it's like amping up on the consulting side of stuff, or, pouring a lot more energy and resources into the brands that we are building. I think that's probably, and then retaining the relationships with the brands that we're working with now. I'm pretty dead sure that, brands like Dixxon and a handful of others, we'll be buds for a long time, and we'll continue making product for as long as their brands are alive. Because it's almost as if, we're one and the same with just 2 different entity names. Because, we love their crews, and hopefully they love us back, and all that. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, in 5 years, I would hope to just doing this. I mean, honestly, like, I love this gig. Like,
You will be.
it's amazing.
Guys like you, the talent that you have, the drive, the vision, just seeing your career, man. And you're still a young guy, so the world is your oyster, brother. Keep dreaming on it. You ever think about possibly bringing out your own product out?
Well, yeah. So that's kind of what I alluded to prior, but it's not going to be under the name FLITEHAUS. It's going to be a different name, but it's
Okay.
it's going to be aimed at kind of the performance V-twin side of things. So,
Beautiful.
it'll probably be interesting to the majority of the V-twin consumer, and then it'll have a lot of technology and kind of modernity to it. So it has the possibility of attracting guys that are into commuting on whatever, whether it's Ducatis or Triumphs or whatever too. So it's an elevated aesthetic. It's all black, which is kind of my go-to. But it's beautifully designed. It's premium materials, and there's a lot of like cool hidden features and and we'll be building kind of the marketing assets in the next few months as the end of our development cycle comes to a close. And yeah, it's incredibly exciting, and I can't wait to show everybody, what we
You targeting like Christmas time frame as far as
think. We're
release or
doing like
sooner?
Q1 spring, so when everybody, East Coast guys pull their bikes out of the sheds and snow's melting, you
Right.
know, when it's not 1,000 degrees here on the West Coast,
Right.
it'll be,
Yeah, come to Florida,
yeah,
bro. It's fucking brutal here,
I've
man.
heard, yeah, but it'll be at the time when the nation kind of as a whole is ready to pull their bikes out and get to it.
All right,
But it'll
cool.
be sick. Yeah, and I'll definitely, you know, get you guys some stuff as soon as
Yeah, that'd be killer, man. That'd be killer. Can't wait to
Yeah.
see that.
we'll meet them.
Heck yeah.
Right on.
Hey, so what advice would you give young designers or creatives that are looking to get into the industry?
I would say put your ego underneath your bed and learn as much as you can, as fast as you can, and like really listen to people and really, if there's people that kind of stand out to you and you respect, like let them show you the way. I think a lot of people right now, especially young guys and girls, are like, I'm the shit. I know my shit, and I'm gonna get rich quick. And they're
Right.
doing it for all the wrong reasons. It's like, and not to their fault.
Yeah.
It's like kind of what in society right now is touting. It's like
What I've been told. Yeah.
you gotta be all in.
Instant gratification.
Yeah. So I would say like really decide whether or not you are passionate about it and you love it. And like make that distinction first. Don't do it because the money, or don't do it because you want to look a certain way or whatever. Like do it because you love product and
Yeah.
you love the process and you love to learn and you're hungry to learn. I would say like definitely check your ego and like do as much. Cause like, I mean, when I say that because, when I was 25 or 26, I went to San Francisco and I was like, I'm the shit. Like I got
Right.
asked to move up here. I got da-da-da-da. And I get there and it was
Right.
just an
Yeah.
absolute, squad of excellent designers that knew could sew a pair of jeans like in 20 minutes and they were perfect. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know how to sew anything, I was like, I surf right there.
Right.
So it's like,
Right.
it's like you're not the shit as a young person. And to understand that the hard way, nobody told me, hey, check your ego at the door. But I would say definitely come in with gratitude and openness and try to learn and do your best and like, show your talents as much as you can. But absolutely like don't shut out like the influence of professionals and people that have been doing it for a long time. I would say that's my number one big advice to the youngsters.
Great advice,
That's
man.
huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the passion, finding that passion, making sure you actually have that
Yeah.
passion is what sustains you.
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
hard
You got to
times.
love it, man. Cause it's not hard work, but it takes a lot of time and effort to get to the place where I assume that a lot of young people want to be. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? Where can our listeners and viewers keep track of what you're doing?
That's a good question. I have social media, but I'm not really on it very often. But you can go to our site, www.flite-haus.com and send an email. I'm on LinkedIn, so you can hit me up on LinkedIn. But yeah, I'm not particularly great at like self-advertising. I don't know if they're self-deprecating
It's hard, man. It's
or
hard to
whatever.
keep up
But
with that stuff.
yeah, I mean, I'm around. I'm sure you can find me.
We'll link everything to the notes section of the podcast,
Cool.
so they'll be able to just click on
Yeah.
directly to
Yeah. And
you.
if you're
All right,
a brand or, I just want to throw this in there as a plug for the company. But
course.
if you're looking for stuff or apparel or, anything, like don't be shy. Like even if it's just a conversation about what you are curious about the process of making things and what it costs. I mean, ultimately, that's kind of what people are concerned about. We're willing to work through all that stuff. If you have great ideas, if you have kind of an avenue of some adjacent categories, whether it be eyewear or boots or helmets or something, or even if it's not even in the moto space, like hit us up and we'll do our best to kind of accommodate your needs and figure out ways of getting things done and getting them priced right and getting the distribution strategy all figured out. So hit us up.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We're going to add you to our
Sweet.
website.
All right, brother. You ready for the speed round?
I got
You survived. You've survived the questions. Now we have some fun.
hit me.
That was cool, man. You gotta. It's awesome seeing. I love it myself. You know, when we first talked,
Yeah.
few 3-4 weeks back, about this podcast, one of the things that I loved about just kind of doing research on you and finding out. I mean, you've never been given anything. Everything you've done, you've grinded to. You worked your way up. You got recognized, and you continued on. And now to see that progression going into your own stuff and your own business and putting out those blood, sweat, and tears into that, man, it's awesome to see. You're already doing amazing things, but just excited for the future of FLITEHAUS.
Thanks, man.
Keep up the amazing.
Yeah, I
work.
really appreciate that. That means a lot. Thank you. Yeah, we will. We'll keep it moving for sure.
Killer. All right, Ben, let's go, man. Let's get him. Let's
All
get
right.
him time. 2 minutes on the clock.
2 minutes. Ready to rock?
Sure.
All right. Favorite or best motorcycle you've ever owned? Or
This isn't very speed. Lowrider ST.
ST.
Right on. If you could have any superpower to use while riding,
Flight.
what would it be?
I guess that's not really riding, but that'd be kind of
Nice.
cool.
Yeah. To fly
That would
over
be
that
cool.
shit, man.
Flying bike. Best place you've ever ridden and why?
I mean, PCH in Southern California is pretty good. And why? Because you're on the water and there's a lot of bars. I don't drink anymore, but back in the day, it was pretty convenient.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Mountains
man.
on one side, beach on the other.
Yep.
If you could time travel, which era would you go to and why?
I would like to. Man, that's a fucking hard question. Can you go forward?
You can go anywhere.
I'd love to go 20 years in the future. Why?
Right on. Why 20?
Just to see if my,
Chevy 73.
just to
bro.
see if my
What the fuck you
skills were
doing?
correct.
Safe. All right. Favorite motorcycle movie of all time?
Motorcycle movie. The Bruce Brown movies. I mean, when I was a kid, like watching
Right
I
on.
mean, even the one this kid did was rad. I just love like the narrative or, behind those movies. It's kind of like cool and old school.
All right. Favorite, or did you have a movie crush as a kid or pop culture crush?
Yeah.
Whose poster was
Oh
on your
man.
wall?
I was a big Olivia Wilde fan for a while, but before that,
Right on.
shoot, I mean, Pam Anderson. Yeah, it's like
Olivia-
back in the day. She was born. I don't know.
Baywatch.
Yeah, Baywatch. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of my best answer.
That's a good answer.
Right on. All right. If you could meet and have dinner with anybody from any time, who would it be?
I would say Jesus. That would be a pretty cool dinner.
Excellent.
That'd be crazy. All right. One law you would change if you were president to impact the motorcycle community.
I would reduce interest rates right now so people could buy bikes.
Right.
There you go. Solid.
Great one. Great.
All right. Here's a fun one. If you could get up on stage and sing or jam with one band, who would it be?
Oh man. I mean, would have to be some of the bands that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Gotta pick one though. Man.
I'd go to, I'd go
Pantera would be
Pantera.
insane.
Yeah,
Right on.
so good.
Okay, this one I'm going to change a little bit. The question is, what's one of your favorite pranks you've pulled on a fellow rider? But I'm going to say a fellow rider or your kids.
Oh, what's a good prank? I mean, the kill switch at the red light's a pretty good one.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
are awesome. I love that shit, man.
I don't know, something like that. Or my son, he had a 2-stroke little dirt bike, and I think we were out at the house one time, and I was like, oh, I just put regular gas in your 2-stroke. I know it's going to run. And there's like on the drive up there, and he was just so bummed when we got there. That was kind of cool.
Funny.
The cruelty.
You gotta keep him
You gotta keep him tight. If you could challenge any celebrity to a motorcycle race, who would it be?
Celebrity. I'm not like a big celebrity guy.
Yeah, I mean, any
a
person.
race. I think hanging out with like any of the Ocean's 11 cast, so whether it's Clooney or Pitt or any of those dudes, they seem like they like bikes. I think that would be pretty fun. Yeah. One of those guys probably.
All right, last dinner ever. What would it be?
Where would it be, or what would it be?
What?
Okay.
What would it be?
Uh,
And you could answer it with where.
Let's see. I really like. I like to cook and I like to eat. So food's like a big deal around here.
Yeah.
It's got to be an incredible like Wagyu ribeye steak and some sides. I love a big good ribeye on the steakout for sure.
Yeah.
And there's a place here in Orange called The Ranch. Some people love it, some people don't, but I think they make an incredible steak, so I'll probably go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Ranch. All right. So besides the One Gang Worldwide podcast, what's your what other podcasts do you enjoy? Do you have a favorite? What are you listening
Sure.
to?
Yeah. I mean, I think I mentioned in an email to Sergey the Rogans. We watch a bunch of Rogan stuff.
I like Rogan.
I'm really into kind of like bushcrafting vids and stuff like that. So guys that build caverns and stuff with their own horns, like my daughter and I watch that shit at night, like every day, maybe. Like, man, at some point we'll probably do a cabin. I mean, we have a place out in the desert that we had built and worked on, but eventually a cabin. But I don't know, just read various YouTube kind of scrolling, but it usually has something to do with libertarian ideals or making stuff with your hands or guns or bikes or fishing or stuff like that. Like I'm an American, good old boy. So I do live in California, the land of a lot of things. But
what used to be the
yeah. So, but anything like that, surfing, music, metal, outdoor stuff, anything having to do with those subjects, I'm in.
That's cool.
Yeah, man.
Right on.
Yeah.
I'll send you some stuff.
You did it,
We
bro.
made
Cool. Sorry, that was a very sweet.
Just in time. 159 on the
Whoa.
Yeah, no,
clock,
actually, no. It was no.
Oh.
Surge is off. It was 2 minutes and 3 seconds. You were just past, so now you got to
okay.
send us. You got to send us a picture of the prototype.
I could do that for you too. I could do that.
That's cool.
That was
Yeah.
awesome, Scott. Man, you got a lot of cool stuff going on. We're excited to watch as it continues, man. Thanks for spending the time with us today. This was
I can't thank
awesome.
you guys enough. I mean, I've never really done this, so the process has been cool. It's been a great conversation and great questions. Thanks for having stuff prepared and all that. So
Thanks, Scotty. Thanks for coming on, man. It's awesome to get a chance to talk to an entrepreneur in this industry and somebody who's done it from a young age and just kind of chased his passion and always dreamt big. And this is what this is all about, man. Just to be able to hopefully influence other younger listeners that are on the fence about not knowing what to do, to always chase their passion. And that's where your creativity and spontaneity comes out from. So it's good to see that, man. We're big fans of yours. And now that we've had a chance to meet you, man, I feel like we're brothers. So thanks a lot for coming on.
Likewise. Appreciate it. Hope to be in touch. Let's
We will, man. We will for
Yes,
sure.
sir.
Once you launch that
We got to do a
in next year, once you launch that, we'd love to have you back, maybe chat a
Yeah,
little
let's
bit
do
about
it.
it.
featured
Absolutely.
episode or something.
Yeah,
That'd be
absolutely.
sick.
Cool.
Killer.
All right, fellas. Appreciate it.
All right,
All right,
be
Scott, take it
be
easy.
safe,
Yeah, you
brother.
too.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.